Hi, we're recording. I'm recording this video to make folks aware of the problems that there is with legal immigration, particularly my problem with it. Let me just introduce myself. My name is Joe Martinez. I am a military veteran. I served 20 years in our military, retired as a captain from the Army. I've also worked as a corrections officer in California, so I'm retired from that as well. Why I'm making this video, well, my wife and I have been married for over 2 years, and excuse me, let me just turn on the light over here. There we go, a little bit better. We're trying to get her over here. Now, she's still in the Philippines, and we've been married for over 2 years, and we've been trying to go through the legal process. But after 2+ years, she's still over there, and we have absolutely no idea when this process is going to be complete. So I have submitted our application for her visa back in June of 24, and we're still waiting. Why should it take 2 years in order to complete an administrative process? She's not a criminal. She's never committed a crime in her life. I don't think that the woman's ever been ticketed for jaywalking, but here we are. And I think that her background check was completed like over a year ago. So what's going on? You know, we have no idea. So the last two steps that we have, what we're supposed to take, because according to National Visa Center, we are what they call documentarily qualified. So, you know, they've checked up on her, they've checked up on me, and we're good to go. However, the last two steps have not been done. One is a medical checkup, and the other one is the medical checkup and then the interview at the embassy in Manila. Those two things have not yet happened. So, I mean, I have no idea how many other people are being affected by this. I had a conversation with a workmate one time that he's from Suriname, and it actually took him 17 years to get into this country legally. There's something wrong with this picture, okay? So I'm just going to throw out a few possible reasons why this is going on, the way that it's going on. Incompetence, apathy, a sense of unaccountability. And when I hate to, you know, get into the realm of politics on this thing, but I don't think it can be escaped. Because when you think of those characteristics that I just mentioned, what sort of political party comes to your mind when you hear about incompetence and apathy? And only one comes to mind. Well, let me just tell you that 93% of all State Department employees, this is according to Heritage Foundation, they did a survey, and they found that 93% of all State Department employees, to include the National Visa Center, they contribute to the Democratic Party. They're not just registered Democrats; they contribute to the party. So, and I would probably have to believe that this would also include the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services as well, or USCIS. Another couple of things that kind of concern me, as long as we're talking about, you know, can this have some sort of political implications? You know, we had to pay $185 just to process the I-130 form. $185, and then eventually we'll have to pay $330 for the interview at the embassy. My question is, who's getting that money, and what is it being used on? Why am I paying for a government administrative function that, you know, should be paid for by taxes? So let me just kind of go through a list of some of the people and some of the agencies that I've had conversations with about this. Did have an email conversation with a supervisor at USCIS because I was trying to get my wife's process expedited. And she does not fall within those criteria for her to be to be expedited. I don't know. I guess you have to have blood squirting out of your ears. But let me just tell you what her situation is. That is my wife. She lives in that part of the Philippines where she's not very far away from erupting volcanoes. She's 20 miles away from Calaon, which when the winds are right, all of that sulfur dioxide flies right over her town. So that means she's breathing that in. So plus we have typhoons that hit there on a pretty regular basis. And in the fall, they come one right after the other. I've seen photos or videos of water pouring from underneath the front door where she was residing. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't consider that a reason for her to be expedited. But apparently, volcanoes and typhoons don't seem to be a reason to get her expedited. Also, we've also discovered that she also has endometriosis, and this is a fairly recent discovery. But we've got a medical situation here as well. So my wife, really, she's in potential danger because of where she lives, because of the typhoons, because of the volcanoes. So this is, to me, a very, very disturbing outcome. So, and it was interesting when I was having this discussion with this USCIS supervisor. Why do we have this holdup? She has no criminal background. She has no criminal record. So what's going on? And she's kind of let something out of the bag. She said that something to the effect of we just can't be letting too many people into the country all at once. Really? Okay. Did you feel that way when Joe Biden let in tens of millions of illegal aliens through our southern border, and actually through our northern border as well? Who did you talk to about that? Who did you complain to? Did you mention anything about this to anything within your administrative chain of command? Did you write to the office of the president and told them that we can't be letting so many people into the country so quickly? To that question, I got nothing but crickets. All right, so let's continue. So let's talk about some of the other folks that were of no assistance to me. Jen Kiggins, who is the congresswoman for the 2nd Congressional District here in Virginia Beach. Absolutely no help. Her staff actually suggested, well, first of all they did was parrot this very same party line that I heard from USCIS. They do give you some criteria as to why you might have to have somebody's situation expedited, but I mean, again, you got to have like blood squirting out of somebody's ears. So one of her staff members actually suggested that I move to the Philippines in order to be with my wife. Really? Okay. I have to give up my country in order to have my wife? You guys can't move just a little bit faster? So one of the other things that I did was I also sent an email to the office of the president. But quite frankly, all they did was refer me back to a supervisor at USCIS, which is the very same organization that I'm having issues with in the first place. Most recently, I've had contact with the office of Senator Tim Kaine. I don't want to be too hasty in my judgment of him. This is probably a little over 3 weeks since I've contacted him, but I have gotten no positive response as a result of my contacting him. So we've got all of that. Now I have included with Tim Kaine's office the fact that my wife does have endometriosis. I don't know if that's going to make a difference, but that information has been included. So I've had to. So here's the deal: every time that my wife has a medical issue, I have to pay for that out of pocket. So for everything having to do with her teeth, her endometriosis. I mean, she's not a spring chicken, neither am I. And when that happens, well, you get to see the doctor more often then less. So all of that costs me out of pocket. So rather than getting her over here a little bit quicker, I have to bear an unusually high burden of financial distress in order to make sure that she's taken care of. Also sent an email to 10 on Your Side, which is a local station here in Virginia Beach, so also known as Wavy TV. The investigative reporter that I sent the email to was Andy Fox. That was about 4 months ago. To date, there's been no response. So let's talk about, what are some of the possible reasons for the delay. So let's agree on a couple of things. Let's agree that an administrative process should not take more than 2 years. Okay, so it's obvious to the casual observer that both USCIS and the National Visa Center are plagued with inefficiency, ineptitude, and apathy. So, and also that they're basically accountable to no one. So you've got stupidity, you've got inefficiency, you've got possible corruption, because again, as I mentioned, you've got these fees going on. Who's that money go to? How is it being spent? It just seems to me that these two agencies are more willing to protect a process and not people. So now let's also agree that the Democrat Party has also shifted far more to the left than it has in most recent times. As a matter of fact, politically speaking, there's a lot of Democrats, whether you're talking about people in elected office or not, that really would describe themselves as communists. All right. Now that's kind of an important fact. Let me explain why. So according to who you talk to, there's various organizations that you can get this information from. Between 100,000 to 140,000 Chinese people immigrate to the U.S. every year, but only 35,000 Filipinos are allowed to immigrate to the U.S. Why do we have such a massive disparity in numbers here? I don't think it's because of the size of the country. I think that there's a little bit more involved here. So why would the State Department be willing to allow so many people from a communist country into our country? Why would the State Department deny people from a Catholic Christian country to come into our nation? And just as a side note, I've rubbed elbows with a lot of Filipinos over the year, either here in Virginia Beach or in San Diego, and I will tell you that, in my opinion, Filipinos make better Americans than some Americans do. But that's neither here nor there. But I think that the basic reason for the difference is moral compass and philosophical alignment. The moral compass of the Chinese is more closely aligned with Lenin, with Marx, and with the Democrat Party. And in the moral compass of the average Filipino is, at least in part, based on Catholic Christianity. So I think that that's where the difference is. The CCP regularly imposes on its people who come to the United States to spy on the United States. All right, when they arrive here, the Filipino government makes no such demands on its people. The focus of the CCP is always to the furtherance of the communist agenda. The focus of the average Filipino is the family. Okay? I think that there is something that is clearly wrong here, and I think some needed changes have to happen. Personally, I think USCIS and everywhere where USCIS overlaps with National Visa Center, that needs to be eliminated, even if that means that you have to get rid of USCIS altogether. Personally, I think a lot of these government agencies, and especially this one, needs to be dissolved, and its functions, for at least for the initial steps of getting a visa, need to be taken over by the National Visa Center. They're the ones that are going to be issuing the visa. Okay, so why not let it happen through the National Visa Center? Okay, So there are times when I have submitted information to USCIS only to have to submit the very same information to the National Visa Center. You will, when you're going through the process and you fill out either a 129 or an I-130, you're going to create a file. That file then will be sent to your case number with USCIS. But then the National Visa Center might just turn right around and ask you for that very same pieces of information. Why? Why just one can't be sent to the other? Why is the National Visa Center talking to USCIS to get that information? So, and quite honestly, once it's been determined that the family member of the petitioner has no criminal record, they should be scheduled for an interview within a couple of weeks to their respective embassy. And especially a nation like the Philippines that is especially friendly to us. We've got some of our folks over there now serving in the military, training the Philippine military, and 17% of our own military is made up of Filipinos. So, and then I find out some other sort of disturbing things. When female members of the Filipinos wind up getting an interview at the embassy, they wind up asking a lot of embarrassing questions. One of the ladies that cuts my hair was telling me that when she got her interview, one of the first questions that they asked her was, "When was the last time you worked as a prostitute?" Well, that's rude. That's really impertinent. And a person's sexual past should not make a difference in a person's being allowed to enter the country or not. I'll bet you if they said that they were gay, that probably wouldn't be a problem. So I think that embarrassing questions, sordid questions like that should not be asked. If they already know that this individual has no criminal record, then let it go. Again, now I think that there should be far less applicants for visas coming from China. Far less. Okay, it is a well-known fact that people that come from China, whether it's Macau or Hong Kong, they could be impressed upon the CCP to spy on the United States. There's that. There needs also, I don't think that there should be any fees for processing a I-129 or an I-130 or for an interview. This is all handled by government employees. We pay taxes. It should be handled by our taxes. I think the government really needs to start releasing a lot of these long-term State Department employees, particularly folks that work in the National Visa Center, and replace them with new employees that are more politically neutral and not people that are aligned with the Democrat Party. Every application should have a suspense date attached to them. When I was in the military, if a commander needed something done, he was requesting some information or some action taken, there would be a suspense date. It had to be done by a certain date. I think that they have to do the same thing, whether it's USCIS or the National Visa Center. You get a piece of information on your desk, you need to act on it like immediately, not later. Sooner, not later. We have to use more automation in order to process these forms, and there should be more connectivity or more communication between USCIS and the NVC if they're going to allow them. A couple of other things that could be done is you need to establish a reward system for employees that finish a visa request early. And there should also be a punishment system for anybody who gets a visa done beyond the suspense date. But there should be some objective standards by which these various processes need to be done. So These are just my closing thoughts. I don't think that there is really any sort of objective standard for a time for which I-129s or I-130s are done. I think it's, quite frankly, it's like turning a dial on an oven. It's like a timer, and the person who is setting the timer, they're the ones that are setting the time as to when these different applications are going to get cooked. And so I just don't think that there's any sort of objective standard here. I've pretty much concluded my rant here, with the exception of saying this. When you get this, please share this with as many people as you know how. Please share this with your elected officials, or call them up, and refer them to this video, because I'm sorry, folks, but this is just absolutely ridiculous, and I have absolutely no idea when my wife is getting here. So I'm not looking for clicks. I'm looking for help. So please be willing to help a fellow citizen out here. Thank you. Bye.